Good morning. Today I want to talk to you about Mark chapter 4, the parable of the sower. This is a really good and interesting chapter in the Bible. There is so much sense carried in here because it's like stories within stories, parables within a parable. First and foremost, this is about when Jesus was gathering a crowd of people in front of a lake and telling them about 4 different scenarios that can emerge when a farmer tries to sow his crop. So he sows the seed. Some of it is taken away by birds. Some of it lands on rocky ground. Some of it gets into thorny areas. And some of them lands on good soil and becomes abundant 100-fold. You can go through a physical Bible or you can go through an online one just like this. Whichever the case, read through this chapter because it retells it from a few different standpoints. And after doing so, you can come to further conclusions. As you read this chapter, when it's being explained, look for the explanation within the explanation. And even today, as I make this video to you about Mark chapter 4, the parable of the sower, I hope that you can find even further realizations inside of what I'm saying and come to your further wisdom, your further realizations upon this. As you do, comment down below this video with whatever ideas that you get out of this. Mark chapter 4, the parable of the sower, tells us about a very important way of life, a way of living, a way of experiencing the life that befalls us or the life that we experience and the things in life that happen upon us. When news comes to our ears, when things happen to us, how are we perceiving it? Because everything that happens to us, we have different ways of reacting to it in such a way that it could be of a limited benefit, or maybe we had some great ideas, but then again, we let ourselves get sabotaged by our own self-doubts or the doubts of others. Or we could also repurpose the experience, however good or bad it may seem, or anything that comes to us. Is there a possibility that everything that happens to us is there for a reason, and not only just for a reason, but for a good reason, that everything is for our benefit? If we're able to take everything that comes in at us as though we are good soil, right? Then anything that happens to us in this life could benefit us hundreds of fold. Wouldn't that be a nice thought? Before I continue, I'm going to give you some context for those of you who have never come across or maybe read this chapter some time ago. A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path. The birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they have no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still, other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. So these are the first verses in the chapter. I've just read to you verse 3 to verse 8. Right after that, Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear." Later, he says, when Jesus was alone, the 12 and the others around him asked about the parable, and he told them, "The secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to those on the outside, everything is said in parables, so that they may be ever seeing but never perceiving, ever hearing but never understanding. Otherwise, they might turn and be forgiven." Parables is like to speak in metaphors. Metaphors is not to say something as direct, but a metaphor allows someone to extract even greater meaning from this. The earlier verses 3 to 8, they give you a context, but this context itself is a metaphor of which we can extract our interpretations from it. And then Jesus goes on to explain this a little bit further. They may be ever seeing but never perceiving. They may be ever hearing but never understanding. Otherwise, they may turn and be forgiven. They may be seeing but never perceiving. Have you ever found yourself saying, "Why didn't I think of that?" That's just because other people saw the opportunity, but you didn't. You were both in the same scenario, but someone saw this meaning. They saw this opportunity. On the other hand, you're looking at it at face value. So should we take a deeper look into the daily instances? What deeper meaning can we find the day-to-day? Most of us are so caught up with the instant gratification culture that we just look for stimulus to feel certain things. like what people call dopamine obsession. If we look beyond how to satiate, how to surprise ourselves, how to, get ourselves some kind of a high, what is the longer term opportunity that lies in a situation? As you go through today, I want you to just look for anything that may happen to you, any incident. It could be something really mundane, but ask yourself, if I was just going to see but not perceive, this is what it is. If I were to see and then perceive, what can I get out of it? What opportunity lies in this situation? What lies in this instance? Or let's say, what deeper meaning is in this instance? What are the different ways that we can draw inspiration from this occurrence, this mundane occurrence? If I were to be a more perceptive version of myself, how would I feel different about this thing happening right now? Ever hearing but never understanding. Think of a time that you were given orders for something. If you work in a company, you attended a corporate meeting, maybe there was a certain statement by a person of a higher position. Or some of you may also think of a speaker's rally, a government speech where a minister or a president or one of the mayors, what is the deeper meaning? What are the motives behind this thing that was being said? Or were we being made to feel a certain way? Why were we being made to feel a certain way? A simple message may not be as simple as it seems. This message could be there to trigger us. This message could be there to redirect our focus to something else, while something else is at work. Otherwise, they might turn and be forgiven. Forgiven in this case is metaphorical. Forgiveness from what? From guilt, from fear, from a wrong, from some kind of trapping, from inaction, from the lack of achievement. If people are able to realize what is it that they behold, this concept of beholding something, it may not be a physical object, but it could be an instance. It could be a flash of wisdom. It could be something that could steer their life if they know how to perceive it. And this is your salvation. This is the desired life. This is the freedom that you desire, the freedom of a certain trapping. It then goes on to say, don't you understand this parable? How will you then understand any parable? The farmer sows the word. Some people are like seed along the path. When the word is sown, as soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in them. If you're not ready to receive, things in life are just going to pass you by. If you are constantly having your mind stuck in the past or wondering about the future, even if something happens in your present, it's just going to slip you by. This is why in my videos, I like to talk about present moment focus, conscious creation. To consciously create, you have to be present. Others, like seed sown on rocky ground, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they only last a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. This is the one we're talking about if the seed falls on rocky ground. So there's no actual soil. It germinates quickly. People get instant gratification. But this instant gratification, and because they're so used to instant gratification alone, like even if they give you a huge opportunity, a lot of people out there on the internet are looking at ways to get rich. They're looking at what is the next best thing that we can do. How can we make money from trading, make money from drop shipping, make money from affiliate marketing, crypto, make money from AI. You see all these advertisements cornering you everywhere, and you click on them. You subscribe to multiple mailing lists. You attend seminars and webinars. The idea sounds great, and in that moment, you feel, yeah, I can be a millionaire. Yeah, I can make 5 figures, 6 figures a month. But if you're not gonna do anything about it, or you do not have the resource and the depth of character to tide over your challenges, to tide over all the trials and tribulations that any venture has, because you fail to realize any success requires a depth of character, perseverance in some way. You have to persist through the initial obstacles. The obstacles are often not even as big as you imagine, but they are there to make you a better person, to make you worthy of the reward that lies ahead. And then Jesus talks about another segment of people. Still others, like seeds sown among thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Alright, this is a very, very powerful passage. Over here we can see one thing, right? There's so many people in this world, and they are still of this mindset. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been raised to think that money is evil, and there are a lot of bad things, a lot of deceitfulness of wealth. So Jesus talks about this very clearly. The worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, the desires for other things come in, all right? So we may be given a very powerful message, a very powerful opportunity, or a great signal for our goodness to come. But at that point of time, the fear of judgment from others, or the perceived obstacles that don't really exist, and the distractions of other things. In my series of videos on pendulums, like, the pendulum of money, when people think that I need to be rich in order to do this thing, but not realizing everything that you pursue, every worthy cause, your deepest desires, your highest dreams. Look at the Apple, the Samsung, the Sony, Ford, Tesla. All these, money came along as a byproduct of the innovation. It's a byproduct. Your causes have reward as well. And finally, others, like seed sown on good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop, some 30, some 60, some 100 times of what is sown. Once again, let's strive to make ourselves like a good soil, to be able to receive the fullest extent of anything that comes upon us. Accept that things can come upon us in different ways. Messages, blessings, they're in everything. And I mentioned this in other videos as well. One of the ways of really experiencing conscious creation and to be able to consciously create and to be very present moment focused is to observe and be grateful. Have things to be grateful about every day. I talked about how I did a nightly gratitude exercise after prayer with my kids to a very good result. In the first day that my daughter tried it, she could only come up with one thing. She struggled to come up with even two. Fast forward to present. The list goes on and on. Me and my kids, we start to interject each other about things that we can be thankful for in that very day. And when we start shifting our focus to what we can be grateful for, because as we experience the day and then we know, we remember, we make a connection with the instance, then we realize that we are so blessed. There are so many things that happen for us in our favor. And over time, it changed our worldview as we succeed in being able to make meaning out of what other people find as a parable. If every instance that happens to us on a daily life is like a parable, which again can be full of meaning and inspiration, and even something that provides you the cues of what you need to do to advance in your life. Like I said in the very beginning of this video in itself, it might come across like a parable too. What deeper understandings that you can come out of it? Like I said, comment down beneath this video whatever else that you make sense out of this. And feel free to share this video with everyone else you know that can benefit from this message. Because we have the ability to create. What if we could make and transmute every experience, every stimulus that we encounter into something that is hundredfold, few hundredfold for our benefit? Wouldn't that be nice?